It is that time of year again, projecting breakout players for the upcoming NHL season. I've now done one or more of these videos in each of the past 4 off seasons. We have 8 total players to talk about today, but before I give you guys this year's list, I want to know which players do you think could have a big breakthrough year in 2021-22, and leave your comment right now before you watch the video because I'm interested to see if we have any of the same players on our lists. And also, while you're down there, you might as well go ahead and leave a like on the video now. It's completely free, it supports the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Let's get things started with the first player. We have undrafted forward for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Alex Barre-Boulet. Does not have a whole lot of NHL experience under his belt up until this point, only 15 total games, and all of those games came in this past season. But in those games, he wasn't just riding the bench, he got a good bit of usage, played over 15 minutes a night, saw some time on the second power play unit, had 3 goals in those 15 games. This is a player with a ton of skill. He had a 116-point season in the QMJHL back in 2017-18. His career American Hockey League points per game is 0.94, so it's close to a point per game, and it's not a small sample size either. When you consider all the forwards Tampa Bay lost this offseason, that entire line of Gaudreau, Coleman, and Gord, they also lost Tyler Johnson, who's now in Chicago. There's going to have to be some players that step up and fill those roles, and I really think Barre-Boulet is going to get an opportunity to do that, to play in the Tampa Bay Lightning's middle six, get all the time in the world on the second power play unit, so don't be surprised if you see Barre-Boulet score 15 plus goals next season, maybe even push 20. He has the skill to do it, and I think he's going to get the opportunity to do it as well. I sort of feel like a sucker for this pick because it's a really obvious one. Kirby Dach, centerman for the Chicago Blackhawks, their 3rd overall pick from the 2019 draft. As we all know, Kirby Dach suffered a pretty major setback as a sophomore this past season, breaking his hand. I believe the injury was in the World Juniors, which forced him to miss the majority of the NHL season. He only wound up playing 18 games for the Hawks, and he looked pretty solid in those 18 games, especially for a 20-year-old kid who missed as much time as he did. He scored above a half point per game pace in those 18 games. When you look at Kirby Dach's NHL totals at this point, he's played a total of 82 games, so a full normal NHL season's worth of games. He has a good bit of experience at this point. Coming into next season, hopefully 100% healthy, getting the opportunity to have a full training camp and preseason under his belt. Also, given the fact the Hawks are a much improved team, I look to Kirby Dach to have a big breakthrough season. He was the 3rd overall pick for a reason. He has all the tools in the world to become an elite centerman. Now, even though I have him breaking out here, I don't think he's going to break out into a star in just his 3rd season. My expectation for Kirby Dach, if he plays in every game, is to score 50 plus points, and I would consider that a breakout year. Continuing on now, the next player we have to talk about is 25-year-old goaltender Aiden Hill of the San Jose Sharks. I wanted to feature at least one goalie in this video, so that's a big reason why he's in here, and he's one of the only goalies I could think of where I could see him having, a big breakthrough season, and the reason being is because he's going to get all the opportunity in the world to do so. This is going to be the first season of Aiden Hill's NHL career where he's going to be looked at as the team's full-time starter, or at least I'd imagine that's what the expectation is at this point. I mean, I know San Jose also signed James Reimer, but I feel like that was just for insurance and to have a solid backup. If San Jose only viewed Aiden Hill as somebody who's going to come in and be their team's backup, I can't imagine they would have gave up a 2nd round pick to bring him in and signed him to the extension that they did. It's not going to be easy for Aiden Hill. San Jose has not been a good team whatsoever in the past couple of seasons, especially defensively, but this past season in 19 games, Aiden Hill proved he can put up pretty solid numbers on a team that isn't very good. He had a 9-9-1 record for the Coyotes, a .913 save percentage. If Aiden Hill plays 50 plus games this upcoming season for the San Jose Sharks and has a record that's close to 500 and has an above .910 save percentage, I would definitely consider that a big breakout year for him. Moving on now to another former Arizona Coyotes player, we have Michael Bunting of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They signed him as a free agent this offseason to a 2-year deal with an annual cap hit of $900,000. Michael Bunting is the definition of a late bloomer. He was a 4th round pick by the Coyotes all the way back in the 2014 NHL draft, and he didn't get his first real look at the NHL level until this past season, where he played 21 games for the Coyotes, and in those 21 games he put up insanely impressive results, and I will add they were unsustainably good results. He had 10 goals, and I believe his shooting percentage was north of 20%. That's not going to happen again, but at the very least he showed that he can play at the NHL level, he can finish, he has some offensive upside, and going to the Maple Leafs, a team where he's more than likely going to get an opportunity to play left wing minutes in the top 6, whether that's with Tavares and Nylander or Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, those are both pretty good scenarios, whichever way you look at it. He's going to get an opportunity to play with some very talented players. If he makes the most out of it and plays a full season in the Maple Leafs top 6, I'd imagine he's at the very least going to be close to a half point per game player player, or maybe even pushing like that 50-point mark. This next pick I feel like is another pretty obvious one as well, similar to the Kirby Dach pick, and that is Casey Mittelstadt, centerman for the Buffalo Sabres, their 8th overall pick from the 2017 NHL draft. There was a point in time where Casey Mittelstadt was viewed as one of the very best NHL affiliated prospects. I remember heading into the 2018-19 season, it was him and Elias Pettersson. Those were like the two favorites for the Calder Trophy. Mittelstadt's stock has definitely dropped a good bit since then. However, he is coming off of a season that was far and away the best of his career so far. 41 games played, 10 goals, 12 assists, 22 points. He looked especially good after the team fired Ralph Kruger, and I don't think that's a coincidence. When you consider the direction the Sabres are heading in, Reinhard Ristolainen already traded, Jack Eichel more likely than not going to be on a new team come next season, Casey Mittelstadt is going to get all the opportunity in the world to play big minutes. There's a chance he may even end up being Buffalo's first line center, at least for this upcoming season, because I mean, who else is going to be? Now, does Mittelstadt project to be a number one center at his peak? Probably not, but this is a dynamic offensive player with a whole lot of offensive upside. Riding the momentum of how he finished this past season, I really look for him to have a big year in 2021-22. The one and only defenseman on this list, Victor Mete of the Ottawa Senators. They claimed him off of waivers this past season from the Montreal Canadiens. Although Victor Mete is only 23 years old, he has a lot of NHL experience under his belt, 199 total games played. I never really understood why it didn't seem like Montreal was a big fan of Victor Mete and they didn't view him as a part of the team moving forward, and I mean, obviously that was the case. They put him on waivers, they gave him away for free, because for the most part throughout his career so far, Victor Mete has put up pretty solid results. He's an analytical darling. Sure, he's never had, an explosive offensive season, but I feel like with Victor Mete, the points are going to come. He's a very talented player, incredible skater. He's a guy that can transition the puck very well. I feel like it's a good sign that his defensive game has kind of developed a little bit more early in his career than his offensive game. Usually it's the opposite with a defenseman. It's not like Victor Mete is some amazing defensive defenseman, but his defensive results have been pretty good in the games he's played. I'm pretty excited to see what Victor Mete can do in a full season with the Ottawa Senators. I was pretty impressed by his play in the small sample size he played with the Senators to close out this past season. The next player we have to talk about is Finnish winger for the Nashville Predators, Eeli Tolvanen, their first round pick from the 2017 NHL draft. This past season he was a healthy scratch here and there, but it was the first season of his career where for the most part he was a full-time NHLer. He played 40 out of the Predators' 56 games, put up some pretty impressive numbers, 11 goals, 11 assists for 22 points. I watched a lot of Nashville Predators games this past season. They were in Detroit's division, and I can tell you Eeli Tolvanen is going to be a very good goal-scoring top 6 winger. I imagine Tolvanen's going to play a much bigger role with the Predators this upcoming season than he did as a rookie, especially with guys like Victor Arvidsson gone. Tolvanen's average ice time per game this past season was under 15 minutes. This upcoming season, I'd imagine that's going to be closer to, 17 and a half, maybe even 18 minutes. He's going to get time on the power play. With the type of shot that he has, Nashville would be foolish not to. I believe he played on the power play this past season anyways. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we see Eeli Tolvanen score 25 plus goals this upcoming season, maybe even be pushing 30 goals. He really does have that good of a shot. He's that good offensively. I think it all just comes down to opportunity, and when you consider the direction Nashville's heading, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be getting top 6 minutes. And now the final player we're going to talk about in today's video, Warren Foegele of the Edmonton Oilers. They acquired him a couple of weeks ago in exchange for Ethan Bear from the Carolina Hurricanes, a trade that was heavily criticized at the time. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense just because Ethan Bear, right shot defenseman, was a big position of need for the Edmonton Oilers. That being said, they didn't get fleeced in this trade. Warren Foegele is a good middle 6 winger, and going to a team like the Edmonton Oilers, you never know, he could get an opportunity to slide up into that team's top 6, play with a guy like McDavid, play with a guy like Draisaitl. I think he has the skill set to complement those guys. He's very good on the forecheck. I feel like that would be intriguing for the Oilers stars to play with a guy like Foegele who can go in there, get the puck out of the corners and find them. And I mean, Edmonton has shown that they're not afraid to try anybody on a line with those guys. I mean, Zach Kassian being an example of that. I really think there's a good chance we see Foegele get the opportunity to play in the Oilers top 6, or they wouldn't have traded Ethan Bear to bring him in. And if that's the case, if that actually does happen, I would bet a lot of money on the fact Warren Foegele is going to put up career highs across the board, goals, assists, points, you name it. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were 8 NHL players that I see having a big breakthrough year in 2021-22. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm really interested to see what your guys' lists look like, so if you haven't already, be sure to get down there in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. And of all the players that I did talk about in today's video, let me know which ones you guys think are the most likely to actually have breakout seasons.